Good morning and welcome to Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion with me, Pastor Amanda. It is Friday morning and we are looking at chapter 45 of Genesis, which just happens to be one of my favorites. I'm so excited to get to be at chapter 45 because we left off yesterday in an extremely tense place where Judah has put it on the line that, he has to take his brother Benjamin back to his father or his father will die. He'll stay as a slave, and then we just don't know what happens. So today, chapter 45 tells us right away that Joseph is overwhelmed. He is no longer in control of himself, is what the first verse of chapter 45 says. Joseph could no longer control himself before all those who stood by him. And he had to tell everybody to leave the room. He was like, send everybody away from me. And it says that he wept loudly. Like he is overcome with emotion that he has to say, you're my brothers, you're my brothers. And and it's like he's so loud that it says the whole household of Pharaoh hears his like emotional outcry. And he goes like, he blurts it out, I'm Joseph, I'm your brother, is my father still alive? And then, of course, like any good drama plays out. But his brothers could not answer him. So dismayed were they at his presence. So here it is. They're just kind of like in shock. Like, what's happening here? Like, where's the candid camera is what's going on here. But so in the end he says, come closer, I'm your brother, you sold me into Egypt. And here is what makes this chapter fantastic is yes, he recognizes what his brothers did. You sold me into Egypt. And he goes, but God sent me to Egypt. God was sending me ahead of you. Because now that there's famine on the land, and we have 5 more years of famine coming at us, I get to save our family. That's what he says. He's like, I get to save the family. And he acknowledges now, only in this moment can he acknowledge all that God has been doing all along. And so it's just this is what this chapter is about. And it's about the process of forgiveness. And I think we see it in a really beautiful way. Because in this particular instance, not all instances, he's able to name what the problem is. Everybody is like, you can't make an excuse. Nobody says an excuse he did. But then he's able to see what good came out of it. And he doesn't hold it over his family, but he uses it to help his family. He uses it to really fulfill God's promise to Abraham. Like he's building up the nation. And so now then Joseph, at this point in time, he then invites his whole family back to Egypt to be able to care for them, because this is where he can take care of them the best and everything. And the story writer in me says, yes, they had to come to Egypt so that the rest of the Exodus story would happen and all of that. Like that, this is how they get to Egypt. But there's that little part of me that goes, in Joseph's power, is this his big mistake? Because they were already settled in the land of Canaan. Like if he would have just said, how can I help you where you're at, versus relocating you to put you to where I'm in control. And I mean, would we be where we are today if Joseph had have thought about his power in a different way? You know, that's the me who likes to go off and wander into other stories. But the reality is, this is how it turned out. So we can't go wandering down that road today. But it does make me ask that question. When we use our power to help other people, do we go to them or do we force them to come to us? It's always a good question to be asking. So what kind of power is that when you can do that? So anyways, the brothers go back and they tell their father that we have seen Joseph, and it says that he was like, stop talking, he's alive, I want to go see him. He's like, all you had to say is my son is alive, and he's like, I've got to see him before I die. And so and at this point in time, Jacob is being called Israel at this point in time. He's kind of now fully come into being Israel. And now that we know that all of his sons have been saved, we know that Israel is being saved. Yeah, get that? See that little bit going on there? Israel has been saved because all the sons are alive. So it's just to me, this is just one of those beautiful chapters about forgiveness and how we can live into that. And we see, though, I mean, really, it does also show forgiveness was not something that happened instantaneously in Joseph's life. If you think about it, he was sold into slavery at age 17. And then he didn't come into power till about 30. And then you think about it, 37 years for the good years, then 2 more years he's almost 40 years old now. And so he was sold at 17. So we've got a good 20 years of processing this forgiveness in order to that. And you know, by sitting in prison, he had to dwell on this a bit. He had to work with this. And I think that's important for us to realize. Yes, it happens all at once, this moment for him, but the reality is forgiveness takes a long time to be able to see what God's doing in our lives. And when we can take the time to see it, amazing things can happen. And what we are able to do to help others and do for others when we do offer forgiveness and give forgiveness and receive forgiveness, it is truly amazing. And that is the wonderful note that I'm going to leave you on for this weekend. And then we will keep moving on through Genesis next week with Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotions. And so I'll see you later. Have a great weekend. Bye.